Qualitative research methods. Underlying principle of naturalistic work. Naturalistic work seeks out all aspects of that complexity on the grounds that they are essential to understanding the behavior of which they are a part. The values and context inherent in human activity are posited as necessary to any analysis. Naturalism as a research paradigm. Naturalism is an approach that posits reality as holistic, based in the perceptions of individuals and communities, and continually changing. Naturalism in Lee research. The naturalistic paradigm only recently has been accepted in the applied or professional schools. Role of mixed, multi-method research. Most social science scholars accept mixed methods work as an addition to their paradigmatic toolkit. Sometimes considered the third paradigm, the mixed method's deliberate recognition of a full spectrum of externally and internally realized phenomena speaks to, for example, usability testing in Lee. 4 basic principles guide mixed method design. 1. Determine and adhere to the theoretical impetus underpinning the project. 2. Work to account for the impact of the method that is brought into the primary methodological thrust. 3. Drive the design decisions from the assumptions of the base method. 4. Employ only the essential datasets. Ethical concerns. Naturalistic settings compound the usual issues of participant confidentiality and harmless involvement. University and grant funding sources. Human subject review committees. This confidentiality is just as important for information seekers as it is for any other population. Harmless involvement is the second ethical issue to consider. Data gathering techniques include sampling, interview, observation, and questionnaire. Sampling. A technique of selecting individual members or a subset of the population to make statistical inferences from them and estimate characteristics of the whole population. Different sampling methods are widely used by researchers in market research so that they do not need to research the entire population to collect actionable insights. Interviews is a formal consultation usually to evaluate qualifications. Observation involves observing actual behavior which are subsequently stored. Questionnaire vary by means of delivery, in person, telephone, mail, email, www, and point of contact, and format. Open-ended questions, attitudinal scales, multiple-choice questions, ratings, and rankings. This is perhaps the most thoroughly studied form of data gathering. Data analysis tools and methods. Analysis is an ongoing process that feeds back into the research design right up to the last moment of data gathering. Whatever theory, model, or working hypothesis eventually develops must grow naturally from the data analysis rather than standing to the side as an a priori statement that the data will affirm or refute. Discourse analysis, developed by Michel Foucault, has the capacity to track historically the origins of and challenges to mainstream ideas and to illustrate marginalized ideas, through an open, conceptualized process of discovery that centers on analysis of power dynamics. Content analysis. Basics. Content analysis is based on the premise that the many words from interviews, observations and documents can be reduced to, or organized into, categories in which words or word units, e.g., paragraphs, share the same central meaning or connotation. The content comparative method of content analysis. Originally the constant comparative method was described in 4 stages. 1. Comparing incidents applicable to each category. 2. Integrating categories and their properties. 3. Delimiting the theory. And 4. Writing the theory. Coding data. Coding does not descriptively paraphrase the interview or observation notes. Instead it identifies the main categories as well as associated subcategories so that, eventually, all units of data can be organized according to these codes. Coding requires an iterative process of identifying themes, identifying sub-themes, pulling out critical themes, sub-themes for deeper analysis, structuring a hierarchical set of codes, developing those codes and their definitions into a documented codebook, applying the codes, linking codes, and using the linkages and themes to develop theory. Coding techniques. During open coding, the researcher should look for terms used by the participants, using those terms as major coding terms. Dual or multiple coding is appropriate when multiple meanings, connotations or denotations are involved. Moving from codes to theory. Data can be organized by 1. Categories, example their basic properties, making sure that the categories develop from the data, are mutually exclusive, cover all the data, and fit into similar levels of analysis. 2. Themes, example their broad threads of overarching meaning, making sure that the themes develop from the categories or from a theoretical approach, pervade the majority of the data, or when in a minority, bear significant weight. 3. Concepts, example explanations, making sure that the concepts develop from the themes and are borne out by study of the categories. Ensuring coding integrity. During coding, 3 techniques help ensure the integrity of the work. First, the acceptable reliability level must be established prior to test coding and met regularly before final coding. Second, face validity, i.e., the correspondence between investigators' definitions of concepts and their definitions of the categories that measured them, is necessary but far from sufficient. Finally, in some situations, other sources can be used to confirm inferences from data, codes, and categories. These may include contextual experiences, established theories, related studies, and representative interpreters. Developing grounded theory. Grounded theory work values the process of continuously developing, refining, and enhancing theory in recognition of the contributions that other studies, perspectives, and minds can make to the original effort. The explanations of these theories are grounded in the details, evidence, and examples of the data. The following techniques strengthen the credibility of findings. 1. Coordinated collection of sufficient data is ensured through the use of prolonged engagement, persistent observation, and triangulation. Extending the time in the field and increasing the number of observations provide more data. 2. Peer debriefing requires submitting the research process and resultant analysis to an unaffiliated and perhaps critical peer for rigorous review and open input. 3. Member checks take the study participants, and stakeholders as a critical audience. 4. Negative case analysis requires developing and revising a theory, model, or hypothesis until it accounts for every known case. 5. Although difficult for the resource-poor investigator, referential adequacy can be valuable. 6. Coordinating data gathering systematically, however flexibly, requires establishing structural corroboration or coherence, audits, self-transcription, explicit recording instructions, and a methodological log. 7. Finally, watching for and noting the impact of researchers' bias, perspective, and expectations require reflexive journals and a personal log. Presentation of findings. There are 5 points specific to the presentation of qualitative research findings that bear mention. First, in almost any forum it may be necessary to explain the concepts behind naturalistic methods. Second, qualitative research requires great detail and explication of both data gathering and data analysis, as does sound quantitative research, with care taken to recognize that the quality controls must be adjusted to context. Third, one ethic of particular value to qualitative research requires the researcher to make some return to the community. Fourth, in almost every case, researchers must make active, careful decisions about, giving voice to the participants. Finally, if research is simply to help us understand the world, then the act of scholars publishing solely for other scholars in the same field makes a modest contribution to that goal. Thank you.